Computers. Why Ken's wrong. Computers, particularly from Apple, are one of Ken Wheeler's favorite gadgets. Find out why the angry photographer has no backup for any of his claims to possess any information technology expertise. Like all complex machines, computers require ongoing repairs and maintenance during their operating life. Consumers always face two questions when their computer needs fixing. Should I try to do it myself, and if not, who should I get to fix it? Consumers seeking more freedom in terms of computer repair options have started what they call the Right to Repair movement. They're calling for legislation and policies ensuring that consumers, especially computer owners, can fix, modify, and maintain their own products. Ken Wheeler is vehemently opposed to right to repair advocates. Even though he condemns all corporations as fundamentally evil and greedy, he insists that repairing, rather than replacing, computer subcomponents isn't feasible. Apple is a particular target of do-it-yourselfers and independent repair technicians because of several of its policies. Its products often incorporate proprietary designs and components requiring specialized tools and knowledge to service. Apple sometimes uses software locks and restrictions to prevent third-party repairs or to reject non-Apple components. This can cause users to lose functionality, not because of hardware quality, but because of deliberate obstacles written into the software. Repairing an Apple device yourself, or through an unauthorized repair service, voids your device's warranty. So many consumers feel forced to take their computer to the Apple Store for maintenance. Traditionally, Apple has lobbied against right to repair legislation, although it now pays lip service to the advantages of open repair access. Its latest products continue to include both proprietary hardware components and software locks. Because Apple trains its so-called Genius Bar staff to replace rather than repair subcomponents, its access obstacles are also bad for the environment. An enormous volume of electronic waste comes from computer components, and even entire devices being tossed out instead of repaired or refurbished. One of the leading right to repair advocates is YouTuber Louis Rossmann. He owns the Rossmann Repair Group, and he's also the founder of the non-profit Repair Preservation Group. Rossmann is a particular target of the Theoria Apophasis hosts' ire. It may have something to do with the fact that Rossmann has about 7 times more YouTube subscribers than Kentucky Ken. Rossmann makes a habit of demonstrating how easily he can repair MacBook laptops in his shop for much less than Apple would charge. He manages this by repairing subcomponents instead of replacing larger assemblies. Although this involves a larger amount of skilled labor than the Genius Bar offers, in the end, his overall bill to the consumer is cheaper. This doesn't sit well with Ken Wheeler. Kentucky Ken insists that Rossmann's approach is economically super stupid. It's hard to understand how a transaction that's a win for both the customer and the repair shop is uneconomical. According to the angry photographer, it would be impossible for Apple to invest the time and effort to train its Genius Bar staff to perform the meticulous kinds of repairs that independent repair technicians deliver. Apple has a market capitalization of nearly $3 trillion US. It employs over 160,000 people, so recruiting staff with these skills doesn't seem beyond their capacity. The real issue is that Apple has a vested interest in selling new hardware. It can also cut costs by creating barriers to competition and hiring unskilled people as technicians and then putting them to work with minimal training. Apparently, Kentucky Ken considers someone with superior skills and business sense outperforming his preferred brand a personal threat. One gets the impression that people have criticized him for crying poor while insisting on buying a premium computer brand. Ken Wheeler also implies that he wrote Apple's official data backup instructions. As usual, that's a wild exaggeration. All the angry photographer really did was post a message on the Apple user community page called Methodology to Protect Your Data. Nobody at Apple asked him, and they definitely didn't pay him to do that. And his post has no official sanction from Apple. Kentucky Ken's article tells readers that hard drives and magnetic media are inherently fragile. As a result, the only way to ensure unassailable redundancies is to use optical archival storage media. This was a suggested approach back in the 1990s, before the internet, but it never really caught on. Optical data are inconvenient and often have proprietary data formats, which is why we rarely see an optical drive anymore. They went out with CDs and DVDs. The usual approach to backup and archiving in the 21st century is cloud storage. Companies like Google, Amazon, and Dropbox, not to mention Apple's iCloud, provide a much more convenient and accessible approach to offsite archiving than optical media. The reason the Theoria Apophasis host tries to assert his data archiving credentials is that the right to repair movement often points out that soldering solid-state hard drives to motherboards makes their data harder to recover. Instead of accepting that this design adds a degree of risk, Ken Wheeler tries to blame the victim, arguing that if people would simply follow his archival methodology, their data would already be backed up. That argument doesn't alter the fact that the new approach adds another data risk loss factor. The angry photographer seems to view any criticism of Apple as a personal affront. To be clear, this isn't a rant against Apple. In fact, just about every piece of technology used to produce this blog post and this video has come from Apple. That doesn't alter the fact that Apple is a premium product that's out of some people's reach, and that they engage in anti-competitive practices. Ken Wheeler's viewers should seek their computer advice elsewhere. The angry photographer can't back up anything he says about desktops, laptops, or any other digital devices.